And we are back, and we just finished watching La Pícara Soñadora from 1956. This clocks in at 1 hour and 18 minutes. It's not rated on IMDb, but I'm going to say PG. This is a PG.
Or G.
Or G. Yeah, there's nothing objectionable.
Yeah, this is an old movie. This is before the rating system even existed.
True. It's tagged as drama romance, and according to IMDb, this is a young and beautiful department store saleswoman lives in a furniture section without anyone knowing.
I think there's a little more to it than that.
So this is the story of Chiquita, played by Mirtha Legrand, who is, I guess, studying to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And for 6 months has convinced her godfather, who is, I guess, the security guard at a huge department store, to let her live there, I guess, to save money on rents. Because even back in the day, rents...
Yeah, the rent was too damn high.
And in the process, she meets a young man who then pretends to be someone he is not, in order to, I guess, get to know her more.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Rich in Love, which is sort of based on the same storyline, but this is done way better.
Yeah, there isn't any annoying douchebag character. The rich son isn't some, like, philandering playboy just sleeping his way through life with random women that he picks up. Yeah, the father hasn't really... He hasn't fired anybody just so his son could advance without having to actually work for anything.
Right.
This is it's just a much nicer, sweeter movie.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's roughly the same plot. The new, or the I guess the more modern telling of this kind of story, the girl wasn't doing any sort of deception or anything like that. Whereas Chiquita here was living in the department store.
Did you find that unethical?
I mean, a little bit, yeah. She had this sort of philosophy that, Mr. Gandara, Mr. Gandara, the owner of the department store, this is all mine because he only lives on the one floor where I live
on all the floors,
He doesn't look at himself in the mirrors. He doesn't smell the perfumes. He doesn't touch the beds and do all the things that you do when you're living.
Right.
He just lives in papers and numbers and confines himself to this place where nobody even knows what he looks like because he doesn't even let anybody into his office.
So it's kind of easy for them to go through that charade at the end that... he's the dad and this, that, and the other thing.
So that's kind of like this justification she's built for herself is, all right, it's okay for me to live here. Meanwhile, it's just, hey, I'm poor. I don't have a dime to my name. I'm working my butt off and going to school. And she's making her way with the opportunity she has that her godfather has allowed her to stay in this place. And she's respectful of it. She doesn't make a mess. She replaces everything that's used or broken or anything like that. Cleans up after herself. So, yeah, it is a deception. It is, but this is a romantic sort of, I wouldn't say this is a comedy.
Really?
But
no.
It's a sweet little romantic movie, so we could be forgiving of it. Plus, it's, the 50s.
Right. Well, so the first time I'd seen this was actually in soap opera form. I saw it with my dad. There was this Mexican soap opera called La Pícara Soñadora, and it was such a sweet story, and I loved it. And I remember my dad telling me about this film, and I remember trying to find it and not being able to. But now, because we have the internet, obviously, it's easier to track down some things. So I'd seen this a few years back, and I really enjoyed it. And I think I enjoyed it again tonight. I mean, I feel like it's a very sweet, what's the word I'm looking for?
Romance?
I guess it's a sweet romance, but it could appeal to all ages. This is a movie that's definitely steeped in the time.
Very sweet, very innocent.
Yes, that's the word. It's very innocent. There's something very sweet and innocent about this film.
This is like back at the time in movies and stuff where it was, hey, I'm gonna marry that gal, and I'm gonna marry that guy, and
Yeah,
then they got married after like a week.
Yes.
It's unrealistic. It probably led a lot of people to be inspired to make a lot of mistakes. A lot of divorces probably resulted from people being inspired by this kind of whirlwind romance belief. But hey, it works in a Hollywood movie where after the hour and 20 minutes, those people's lives just cease.
Because they're not real people.
Because they're not real people. Yeah. It is. It harkens back to a simpler age when stuff like that had happily ever after.
Yeah. Well, this is also in black and white, so there's this nostalgia piece to it. It doesn't. The print that we saw, it's not as sharp or as crisp as some other black and white movies we've seen. Like we just saw The Invisible Man.
Yeah, that looks great.
Looks amazing, and that's older. That's from 33.
That's for an old film. I mean, and yeah, it even had like special effects, like
which I'm sure were cutting edge in 1930.
Oh God,
right?
yeah.
My gosh, we should review that for the pod because that movie was bananas.
Oh, Claude Rains is magnificent.
Magnificent.
He is so damn
insane,
crazy. He is evil crazy. Like you'll have a big thrill until you hit a boulder and your car flips over and your arms will break and you'll go screaming.
Well, it was so funny because you said you were like the part about him telling that guy he's gonna die at what time exactly.
He was that crazy.
I didn't believe you, and then I saw the scene. And I was like, "Wow, that's bonkers."
Yeah.
But getting back to this film, yeah, again, there's like the sweet innocence, and it's very steeped in the time, from the clothing to the colloquy to just everything. It's very much a product of its time, and it shows. But I still enjoyed it. And it's kind of interesting because I don't know if you and I have had this conversation about how certain stories sort of like stand the test of time. There's kind of like a silliness and an incredulousness about this particular story. But at the same time, I feel like some of the themes transcend, and it's almost classical, like the need to be loved and accepted. I mean, here's this woman who has these big dreams and ideals. And kind of interesting because in 1956, you would think, well, she could have just married somebody, right? But no, she wants to be a lawyer. She wants to practice the law.
Yeah, and she impresses during her
exam, her oral
exam. Whatever.
Yeah.
However things are done in Argentina.
Yeah. And then the other part was like how when he meets her, he's sort of like this aimless young man who does what he's told, I guess, his parents or his dad mostly, right?
Is trying to arrange basically a marriage with a girl who seems very nice, but it's just not for him.
Right. There's nothing about her that inspires like love or anything. And then he meets this free spirit, and he's completely turned around to the point where he basically concocts this plan where he says, like, hey, I have a friend to the dad. Like, can you hire him in the toy department? And then the father, unbeknownst, goes along with it and facilitates his own son
working in the toy department.
In the store. So unlike Rich in Love, here's someone who uses, I guess, his brain to kind of figure out a way to get in this woman's line of vision. Yeah,
I mean, it's a clever plan because he's not really using it to just sleazily hit on her nonstop. He's like listening to her. He's learning about her. They're learning about each other. She's teaching him the ropes on how to be a good toy salesman, and he's doing very well. It could have been, I think that's probably how it would have been portrayed initially, just like him douchebag there, just obsessively stalking this woman and then winning her over. It was sweeter. It was definitely more innocent. It was, I'm going to just do this and I'm going to get to know her and boom, we're falling in love. And I think the relationship felt more earned, right? It felt more earned when it felt more earned. It's funny, there was another parallel with like the boss was like kind of hitting on her. He was hitting on her as well, but very different times. Yes, very different times. She's personal space. She's basically just like, I appreciate what you're saying, but no.
Yeah.
And the guy was just like, well, I gave it a shot.
Or maybe I'll try again in 2 days.
Yeah, maybe I'll try again later.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, if you really want this job, you want to keep this job, you better start putting out, baby. None of that.
None of that.
It was definitely a more innocent time.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I think also the fact that it's only like an hour and 18 minutes doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
The other movie went on for way too long.
Yeah, and there was like a lot of the subplots with his friend and the weird lady and
Monique's backstory.
There was
even though Monique was a better character and more interesting.
There's a lot going on, and then the whole thing with the fountain, having sex in the fountain of tomato sauce, and what the hell? It's like, okay, we get it. Yeah, just move on. They could have cut a lot out of that mess.
So I still feel like I really liked the soap opera, the Mexican soap opera with Mariana Levy and Eduardo Palomo, but this obviously is the precursor to that and just lovely. It's funny. Lately I've been seeing a lot of things where it was sort of like the template for future things. Like there was this movie, Sweet November, which just played on TCM, that I guess was it Richard Gere, Winona Ryder's Sweet November is based on. And it's the same premise. And like I'd never seen the original one, I guess. And it was really lovely and sweet and just super sad at the end. If you know what that story is about, I don't want to give too much of it away in case anybody wants to watch it. But it's a love story, but it's not. And it doesn't end how you think it's going to end. It's kind of interesting. I think I saw the one with Winona Ryder and Richard Gere, but it doesn't even like register in my brain. Like that's how kind of forgettable it was, I think.
I've seen neither, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I think it's playing on the app if you want to watch it. But I found it really interesting. But anyway, getting back to this, I think lately I've been on this kick of like seeing the old and the new. We sort of did that in a way with like Totally Killer and Scream and stuff like that. So sometimes in order to understand where you're going, you have to understand where you've been. And I think that also translates to in storytelling and in movies. We can learn a lot from the past. And I think that helps future stories be better. This episode of the podcast is dedicated to Christina D. on her big birthday. As a lover of classic films, I wanted to pick something that was in the classic film genre. She is just a force of nature and an amazing woman. I count myself extremely privileged and lucky to know her. I think the world of Christina D. And I'm always amazed and awed at just what a powerhouse for such a tiny woman. She is just such a powerhouse and just so fun and great, and she's all business when she needs to be, but she also knows when to pull back and have fun and poke fun at herself or just laugh at what's going on, and just such an amazing presence. I had a very bad work experience prior to my new group with my manager, and I still miss my old group. But my new group has been such a lovely surprise, and I adore all of them. But I definitely wanted to give Christina D a shout out on her big birthday that's coming up. We're going to post this before her birthday and before she goes away. So from me to you, kiddo, happy born day, and all the best now and always. Sending you big kisses and love, and just again, just so blessed and privileged and honored to know you. You are an amazing, amazing force in the world, and I'm happy that my journey led me to you. You want to give a number about this film? 1 to 10. What'd you give it?
I give it like a 6.
6. I'm going to give it a 7. I think from where it starts to where it ends, it's sweet, it's innocent, it's definitely an era that's long gone by. Mm-hmm. I think even with some of its fantastical aspects, I think it's a story that still holds up and stands the test of time. I think that the performances are all great. I love the grandmother. She was just
the grandma was
bonkers.
awesome.
I loved her.
I'll give it a 7 too.
Yeah, she was just nuts. I loved it. I think it was a little extra for her to like, but still kind of fun that her story also came full circle with when she gets reintroduced to Camilo. So I thought that was kind of fun. I also liked how the parents, well, his mother was just, I mean,
the mom, oh, I'm gonna take my aspirin. Oh, I need my drops. That mom was doing some hard drugs. She had no idea where she was. 90%. Are we in the subway? Oh, we can. I'm right near my house. Let's just get off here. She had no idea what was going on ever.
She is the reason the Surgeon General put that warning on the cigarette packets.
Yeah.
She was probably drunk and smoking when she was pregnant.
She had access to a lot of prescriptions.
Yeah, she did. What did you think of the dad?
I liked how he came around at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely, like I said, this is something from a more innocent time. Nowadays, it would have been way bigger battle. There would have been like threats of disinheritances and you better do this, or I can make this girl's life really miserable. I could fire her from her job. Right. And if there was anything like that, it was just quickly glossed over, or taken care of as soon as like the grandma got involved, especially because grandma was actually in charge of everything.
Everything, right? Because he couldn't do his business without her signature.
Without his signatures.
She was the department stores.
Yeah. So it was.
And she was all about her grandson being happy and getting married.
Yeah. So it's definitely a film of a more innocent time. Nowadays, they would definitely be digging into these plot points. There would be more mustache twirling. The partner would be his business partner would totally be way more involved. If you don't do this, we're finished as business partners, he better marry my daughter. Yeah. I'll make sure your son is penniless. Yeah, none of that. None of that. This was just a sweet little story.
What did you think of Silvia?
She was a good character. A lot of times the character, like especially a character who's a self-proclaimed dreamer. Mm-hmm. She was not annoying at all. She wasn't the manic pixie dream girl that has erupted on the scene like in the early 2000s, late 90s.
Keeps coming back.
I'm quirky. that kind of personality. She was just I have my dreams, I have my problems, I'm overcoming my problems. And she also was she had like one interesting line where when she was doing her whole law thing, and then the guy was talking to her and talking about dreams and whatnot, and she's just like, lawyers don't dream. And it was just sort of like she knew where the line was drawn and when it was time to stop with the fantasies. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's time to put on my lawyer hat now. And she just like rocked that. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards it was like, hey, we're dancing around. I'm a countess. You're looking at my tuxedo. It was like, ambassador. The stars. I give you my stars.
Yeah.
So she knew. Yeah.
Or in the translation, starts.
Start. I think that was just just
bad.
Poorly translated. But yeah, she knew where to draw the line between that and when to get serious and when not to be serious. And she was a lovable character.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because a character like that could walk that line, right? Between just being just completely, I want to smash my fist into this person's face.
Exactly, like the manic pixie dream girl. So I mean, there's so many instances where it was just like,
well, you loved Stargirl.
Oh Christ! Oh my God! That was like so manic pixie-ish. It was like a parody of a manic. It was like,
it was too much.
Hey, what are you gonna do now? I'm gonna play my ukulele. Of course you are. Of course you're gonna play your goddamn ukulele. Jesus.
Yeah, why did that become so oversaturated, that trope?
I don't know.
I mean, I like that she kind of walked the line. So, kind of what you said. She knew when to turn it on and turn it off, right? When certain situations demanded that she be present and accounting for this knowledge. You know, she wants to be a lawyer. Obviously, she has to prove that she can be a lawyer. And again, it's interesting in that time frame. This is a film from the 1950s. That wasn't really the messaging, right? It was like, oh, take home ec classes and learn to bake and to sew and how to be a good wife. Like, that was more the messaging in the 50s. Whereas here's this woman who's just like a constant dreamer, who has this fantastical life in her brain, but at the same time is up till 1 o'clock in the morning studying.
Yeah.
Yeah. More of this, I think. More of this, like someone that sort of is more based in reality.
Yeah, or somebody who's just not a caricature all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to have a fun, interesting, even quirky personality.
Yeah.
But you can't be on 24/7. People who are on 24/7 usually at some point you're going to walk into a dark room where they're just sitting there muttering about how much they hate themselves. It's
either that or they're self-medicated like the mom.
Or the mom, yeah. Where's my aspirin?
Where's my aspirin? Hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Take their aspirin by a spoon and lighting it up and sucking it into a needle.
Oh my God. That just became a dark film. What are you talking about? Don't ruin this movie.
All right, yeah, maybe cut that part out.
Yeah, no, we can leave it, but it's just not that. I think I enjoyed ending the night on a like light, lovely, innocent film.
And Bugs Bunny and Scooby Doo.
Yes.
That's what the mom was seeing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so 7 and 7. Yeah, if you can find this, absolutely check out 1956's La Pícara Soñadora. It's a treat. I think it still holds up. It's fun. It's not
sweet
long.
Old film.
Yeah, and it's a classic, much like my friend Christina D. Shout out on your big birthday, girl. And that's it from us, and we will bid you all a
good night.
Good night.